Hey comic book fans, I'm John Andersen and I just watched Suicide Squad, and to be honest it's a bit of a mixed bag. Given all the controversy between the low Rotten Tomato score and all the poor critical reviews, after seeing it I have to say, does it deserve less than a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes? I don't think so, but at the end of the day there are still issues in this film that can't be ignored. Now, if you're not that familiar with the idea of the Suicide Squad, basically this woman named Amanda Waller forms a team of bad guys to fight even worse guys. As you can imagine, this is a huge ensemble cast and everybody gives a solid performance, but the biggest standouts for me would have to be Will Smith and Margot Robbie. Will Smith plays Floyd Lawton, aka Deadshot, who is a character I'm a huge fan of, especially in his portrayal from Season 2 of Arrow, and I was really excited to see what Will Smith was going to bring to this character. It's clear that Will Smith is the biggest star in this film, and as such it's clear that this ensemble film focuses heavily on Deadshot's character. Regardless, Will Smith's natural charisma really carries the film, and he has a lot of quiet moments in his flashback scenes that I was really emotionally invested in versus some of the other characters. Margot Robbie brings the iconic character of Harley Quinn from the animated show and the comics and really brings that character to life. The only issue I had with her performance was that this character is so crazy that when we try to relate or give her an emotional arc, it's kind of hard to decipher what's really going on in her head because she's so unpredictable. Regardless, she had great chemistry with Jared Leto's Joker, and I wasn't super enthralled with Jared Leto's performance. That might have a lot to do with the fact there wasn't that much Joker in this film, and maybe in a solo Batman film I'll be really into his character. But for now I couldn't really decipher if he was being too much like Heath Ledger or too much like Jack Nicholson, and not enough of his own character. But again, that can change in a more concrete Batman film. As for the rest of the squad, it seems that the rest of the characters are just kind of there to add to the spectacle and the action set pieces, especially when we look at characters like Killer Croc and Katana. But when looking at Jai Courtney's Captain Boomerang, I was really concerned given the lack of charisma that Jai Courtney has shown in the past. But this is definitely his best performance to date, but I don't think that's really saving much given the stilted performances he's given in the past. The character of Diablo doesn't get that much characterization, at least until the end of the film, where they want you to really feel for this character. But for whatever reason, I wasn't that engaged in his storyline, even though it was pretty compelling. Then we have Colonel Rick Flag, who suffers from a similar issue with Diablo, where they try to make him a compelling character and give him an arc, but at the end of the day, I wasn't as enthralled as I think the film wanted me to be. And finally, I want to touch on the Enchantress character, who had a very compelling start, but when it comes to the second and third acts, kind of derails when she has kind of a useless transformation and is kind of silly from then on. And speaking of the third act, it was very reminiscent of me of the new Fantastic Four film, which was just terrible. And the biggest issue that this film has, I think, is ultimately its pacing and its editing. Especially when you look at the first half of the film, it's very choppy and random where we have intercuts of origin stories and the film itself, and it just doesn't mesh well. And then it starts to show some promise in the second act, but then, as I mentioned previously, it derails into this Fantastic Four-esque third act where it falls apart. Despite all of that, there is a lot of good things about this film. As I mentioned, the performances are very solid, if not great. The soundtrack's actually really good, again sometimes feeling a little too music video-y, and we have two cameos from heroes in the DC universe, one of which I didn't see coming at all. To sum up, this film was a hard do-see. If you're a DC fan, I think there's a lot of things you'll like about this film, but if you're not a big DC superhero fan, I don't think you'll like it nearly as much and might want to skip it. But this is one of the few films that subtly teases the next film, and speaking of the next film, I did an afterthoughts video on the Justice League Comic-Con trailer. You can check it out right there, or in the description below. And check out my thoughts on Batman the Killing Joke over here, or in the description below as well. And as always guys, if you like this video, be sure to share and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook at John Ryan Andersen, or on Instagram and Twitter at The Comic Look. And remember guys, as always, comics do deserve a second look.